Welcome to the Pursuit of Constant Improvement podcast, the fitness and self-improvement podcast for those who are looking to become the best human being possible. If your goal is to improve your mind, your body, and your routine, then you are in the right place. If you gain some value from this episode, I would be incredibly grateful if you could rate the podcast on Spotify or subscribe on YouTube. But without further ado, I'm your host, Connor Malone, and this is the Pursuit of Constant Improvement. In today's episode, we're going to be diving into stress and overwhelm and how to deal with it. Now, this is a really big thing that I've been talking about recently. I actually recently started working with a company called Young and Lazy, which if you've never heard of before, we are a mastermind group for young entrepreneurs. We help them scale their businesses. One of the things that keeps coming up time after time is the subject of overwhelm. So entrepreneurs, of course, feel overwhelmed all the time with so many things that they have to apply to their business, all the things that they want to achieve, but all of us do. In every aspect of our life, we're gonna face overwhelm. We're gonna face stress. Now, this is something that when I first started studying Stoicism, I really had to focus on. Like the subject of overwhelm, they talk about this a lot. So there's a lot of different skills that I've acquired over the years to help me deal with overwhelm. I've utilized these tools with clients as well. So I'm really looking forward to this and diving into it in terms of how we can use self-improvement to help us overcome and deal with overwhelm. Now, one of the very first things I want to go over is a quote by Bruce Lee. He says, "Do not pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one." And this is where most people struggle. This is where I struggled in the beginning. Like, I used to have this affirmation, right? And I used to wish for a stress-free life. Like, what was it? It was to do with financial freedom. And it was, like stress-free. Yeah, that was how it ended. It was like, I wish for a stress-free life. Now, of course, this is natural. That's what we think. We think that it's, we look at some people and think, they must have no stresses or whatever. Whereas the thing is, we always have stress. People think, well, money will solve my problems. No, you won't. You'll just have money problems after that. They say money solves money problems, but then guess what? You overconsume after that and then you have more problems. Solutions create problems. I remember someone said that to me once and it's a great point. It's like we have a solution to one problem and then guess what? Another problem arises because of that. So we're never going to eradicate problems from our life. We're never going to eradicate stress or overwhelm. However, one thing we can control is how we deal with it, which takes us very nicely onto point number one, the Stoic dichotomy of control. Now, this idea has been huge in my life, from both helping anxiety, with stress, overwhelm, all of these things. Now, the idea of the Stoic dichotomy of control is that there are very few things that we can control in life. We can influence almost everything, but we cannot control them. The only thing that we can always control in life is how we respond to things. So things will happen to us, or actually what came up in my podcast with Mark Yoon a couple of weeks ago, he said things don't happen to us, they happen for us. It's a great perspective. But when things do happen for us, we can choose how to respond to it. Like, we're going to go through some unfortunately horrible things in life. Now, you can let things hold you down for a long period of time, or you can respond to it in a way that you want to respond to it. And that's what Stoicism teaches about. Like, imagine this. Like, imagine you've woke up one day, maybe your phone died overnight, you've slept in, you're going to be late for work, you're in traffic, you're worrying about work, you've got all these tasks, you know you're going to be late, your boss is going to be angry, you're worrying about all these things, right? What the dichotomy of control helps us do is we're sitting in that car, we're stuck in that traffic, and it helps us ask ourselves, what can I control right now? Because the answer is very little. You can't control someone's going to be angry. The things have already happened, but what you can control is now how you respond to this. Are you going to be angry and start shouting and swear and start beeping your horn? Again, at things you can't control. Well, then guess what? You're going to make yourself even more frustrated and even more overwhelmed. Whereas you could take a second, take a breath, and think, okay, this isn't ideal. I feel a bit overwhelmed right now. I'm feeling stressed. However, I can't control that. That's happened. What you can control is how you respond. And that is the key thing that I want you to get from that. Things are going to happen to you in life. You are going to be worried. You are going to be overwhelmed. But you can also add to that by trying to control things that are out of your control. You just add more overwhelm, add more stress. Seneca once said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Like, you're sitting there already, you're catastrophizing when you're in that car, thinking, what's my boss going to say? Am I going to get sacked? Am I going to do this? That? You can't control that. So the fact that you're catastrophizing, you're worrying about it, isn't going to help. Now, of course, hearing that isn't going to stop you from worrying, but we do need to realize that if we want to make any change in life, we first have to become aware that it's possible. So that's the first step, becoming aware that there are things in life that we cannot control, but we can always control how we respond to it. This is huge. So again, that's it with the dichotomy of control done for me. Think of all the stresses that you've experienced before, how little control you had over them. But guess what? They all passed. Which takes us on to our next point. This too shall pass. This has been huge for me because I get overwhelmed a lot, like especially within business. I try to do so many different things. Like for example, I've got my online coaching business. I've got, of course, this podcast. I've got content that I create on Instagram, on TikTok. I've got Young and Lazy now, who I'm working for as a coach. I've got all these things that I'm loving and I'm pursuing improvement in. But that comes with overwhelm. You try to do so many different things. And one of the best things, I remind myself, I remind my clients of this all the time, is this too shall pass. As I said just there, think of all the times you've been overwhelmed in your life. Think of all the times you've been stressed. You survived. They passed. You improved. Now, this came from me from a video I watched of Tom Hanks years ago, and he's sitting in a round table, and there's other celebrities, and I assume they're talking about life lessons. And he's talking about this too shall pass. It's like, you feel angry right now, this too shall pass. You feel happy, this too shall pass. You feel sad, this too shall pass. You feel overwhelmed, you feel stressed, this too shall pass. It's such an important point, just realizing that, you know what, this does feel uncomfortable right now, but it's going to pass, it's going to go. That was a huge thing for me in the overwhelm, and just reminding ourselves of this constantly. That's how we actually start to believe it from there. One thing I started to do recently is I heard this great point, this great perspective of seeing thoughts as clouds. We just need to observe them. So imagine looking up, you see all these clouds, their emotions, their thoughts, anger, overwhelm, frustration, worry. All these things are there, all these thoughts, oh, I might lose my job, or oh, this person's going to be annoyed at me, or what if this happens, what if that happens? This too shall pass. Those clouds will pass by. Now, your job is to observe those. You are not your thoughts. All these worries and things that you're having, that is not you. Those are merely thoughts. You're the observer of them. So you can sit there and you can look up at those clouds, you can look at those thoughts, those feelings of overwhelm, and realize that they are going to pass, just like clouds do. They're going to pass by. They may take a while, but they shall pass, because in life, everything passes. Like I was in Monday, I was stressed at my box. I was agitated. That's the feeling I get often, is agitation. Not anger, but agitation, but everything's just like, so many things I've got to do. I don't feel like I've got enough time to do them. And I remember how frustrated I felt, and I had to go. I was going to a class on Monday, so I got in my car and I was driving there and I was thinking all the things that I should have done and could have done. And I reminded myself, I was like, well, first of all, you can't control that now. Like, it's gone. Like, so just focus on what you're doing right now. I was going to a Latin dancing class, right, which I've been going to for about 2 months, and I'm loving it. And I was like, listen, you're going to drive through there. You're going to have a good time. You're going to learn a new skill. Like, just switch off. Like, be present. Whereas I'm taking myself away, I'm worrying about all this. And then again, I also reminded myself, this too shall pass. And it did. I remember driving home and thinking exactly that. Like, I feel great right now. Because from a hormonal standpoint, everything had balanced out. From the activity, I'd had endorphin responses, I felt more calm, I felt more happy. This too shall pass. It always does. And we need to remind ourselves of that. Now, another thing we have to do to help us deal with overwhelm, because again, we'll never be able to avoid it. We just have to be better at dealing with it. Is we must be prepared to be tested, because we grow stronger through difficulty. We grow stronger through adversity, through difficulty. There's a great quote in Evan Almighty, and it says, if someone prays for patience, do you think God gives them patience, or does he give them opportunities to be patient? So we think of all these skills and characteristics, these traits that we want to embody. Everybody wants to be disciplined. Everybody wants to be resilient. But you don't just acquire these skills through nothing. You acquire these skills by being put through stressful situations. So you have to be resilient. That's what we have to do. Whereas people are just expecting, like, oh, I can't deal with stress or overwhelm or whatever. Because you're either being put in those situations and not dealing with them correctly, or you're never being put in those situations. It's like progressive overload. Now, we use that in the gym in the sense of, like, for your muscles to grow and adapt, they have to first experience stress. It's called mechanical tension. And that causes our body to adapt. It's the same with life. You want to become more resilient, you have to experience some form of stress. And you will adapt to that. You'll become more used to it. And then over time, you'll become better. Like, I think of the things that I deal with now. 3 years ago, a year ago, I would never be able to deal with it. I'd be so stressed and overwhelmed by it. Whereas, like, the thing on Monday that I was stressed and overwhelmed by, see, in a year's time, I know that's going to be a piece of piss to me. Because I'll be dealing with bigger problems. Because as we said, like, solutions create problems. But this is the thing. We can become so much better in life by preparing to be tested. By preparing to say, right, I know I'm going to go through difficulty. I know I'm going to go through hardship. But this is required to be the person I want to become. This is all perspective. If you see hardship and difficulty as bad things, what do you expect but to be overwhelmed? Whereas if you see these as good things, as tests for your character to become better, to self-improve, then you're going to be less overwhelmed by it. You're going to be able to deal with it better. Coming back to that perception piece there, difficulty is good if you choose to see it that way. Zoom out. That's something that I do all the time. And this is when I talk to clients about this too shall pass. This is what we talk about. Zoom out. Look at the big picture. What were the worries you had a year ago? What were the things you were stressing about? What were the things you were overwhelmed by? You probably can't even tell me because they pass. But you don't realize that this too shall pass until you zoom out. You look at the big picture. That's one of the big things, see, especially in an entrepreneurial space, that I'm saying to people. It's like we need to look at the big picture here because within business, we have so many different tasks. We have 1,000,001 things to do in a week or in a day. That's because you're looking at the little minute details. You're looking at the small part of it. If you zoom out and look at the months and look at the years, hopefully you should be planning to be in this game for a long time. You're going to forget about this in the long term. So again, in these times of overwhelm, when we're like, I've got 1,000,001 things to do, I've got all these things I'm stressed out by, zoom out, look at the big picture. Think, see in 6 months' time, see in a year, you'll have forgotten about this. You'll be in a totally different position. All you need to do is focus on what you can control. Realize this too shall pass. All of these things relate to each other. The dichotomy of control, this too shall pass. Zooming out, all of these things are strong responses that we can take to, again, reduce overwhelm going forward. That's how we get clarity as well, by zooming out. I speak to people about this all the time. It's like they're so focused on, like, oh, I've got 1,000,001 things to do. Look at the big picture. What are we trying to get? Where are we trying to go? What's the place we're trying to get to? What is the one task that you can do right now to help you push towards that? That's using the dichotomy of control. What can you control right now? And then you go for it. Whereas if you worry about all the other tasks, all the things that are coming in the future, good luck. You're not going to be able to. Now, one of the key things for me was realizing what I had to remove to be less overwhelmed. Like a few years ago, a lot of my cause of overwhelm was from the things I was over consuming, particularly alcohol. Like I'd go out on the weekend, right? Let's say I'd go out the Friday or even the Friday and the Saturday or whatever. And if I overdone it, I get terrible hangovers, mentally, not physically, mentally. I would feel anxious, I would feel worried, I would feel behind, I would feel lack of motivation, I would get all these thoughts. I would just overthink, I would catastrophize. And for me, I'm putting myself in that, like I was saying to myself, I want to be this disciplined guy, I want to be a guy that's in control of his life, I want to be on point with my business, with my physique, with my mentality. And then I'm looking at that, I'm like, well, that's not what a guy who's in control of all those things would do. He wouldn't go out and drink once or twice a week and then put himself in a position where he's feeling overwhelmed, where he's feeling a lack of control because of the alcohol, because of the hangover response from it. So I had to look at these things. I was putting myself in situations where I didn't have to be. So for me, like reducing alcohol was a huge one because I didn't have to be stressed. I didn't have to put myself on a Monday and Tuesday into a position where I was feeling overwhelmed. It was me doing that, nothing else. So that was a big thing for me. So if you look at your life and think, what overwhelms you? Is it certain people? Is it certain social situations? Sometimes you're just going to have to do things in life and overcome it. But if it's things like alcohol and over-consuming, you can totally remove that or at least reduce it. And that was what I done. I reduced it hugely. And now the amount of days and weeks that it'll have added up to that I feel more energized, it will be huge. And in years, that's going to result in so much more progress in what I want. Now, another thing for me was like social media. Like when I would sit on my phone, I'd sit on my phone and doom scroll for like an hour or 2 hours at times. And I'd come off and I'd feel miserable. I'd feel terrible, and I'd be like, oh, I should have done this, I've not done that, and then that feeling of overwhelm would start to creep in. And again, that's me that's doing that. So we have to look at these things. What are the actions, what are the activities that you do that after doing them you feel overwhelmed? You can remove them or reduce them. The workload, yeah, you can't control. That's going to come with time. You're going to get better at adapting to that. But these things, when you put yourself in these situations, you can control that, especially the alcohol one. Now, for me, of course, reducing alcohol was huge. But the other thing as well was just phone fasting, which is a great concept. Just like literally going periods of time without your phone or without social media. Every single day I delete Instagram now. Like I'll re-download it at 3, 4 or 5 p.m. I'll upload stories or if I put a post up or whatever, but I don't need to be on it for any longer than 20 minutes. Because if I need to respond to messages, I've got another app for doing that. Whereas all I do on Instagram is once I've uploaded my stories or respond to a couple of messages, I just doom scroll. That's it. So for me, there's no point in having that app on my phone. Because to make a bad habit difficult, we need to create friction. And deleting the app is enough friction for me to not go into the app store, wait for it to re-download and log in again. So these are the things that are helping me not be overwhelmed. So we need to look at that. What are the things that are overwhelming in you in life? If you have control over them, remove them, reduce them. Now, just to go over those points again, just to summarize. First of all, I love that quote that we started off with Bruce Lee. Do not pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. Just realizing that stress, overwhelm, all of these things are part of life, but you can become better at dealing with them. The dichotomy of control, a huge point. Understanding that, yes, we can influence everything in life, but we cannot fully control it. The only thing we can always control is how we respond to things. It's huge. The idea that this too shall pass ties into that next point of zooming out as well, looking at the big picture, and of course preparing ourselves to be tested. That's a huge point. Going back to that Bruce Lee quote, knowing that we have to have the strength to endure a difficult life. We can put ourselves in that position. And then that last point of reducing or removing things that cause overwhelm, things that cause stress, you can do that. That's one of the things that you have control over. Now, as ever, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If these are some things that you are struggling to apply yourself, you have all the knowledge from these episodes, but you're struggling with the implementation, that's exactly what I do with my online coaching. On a one-to-one basis, I coach people in their fitness and their self-improvement. I help them build a physique, a routine, and inevitably a lifestyle that they can be proud of. We look at things like that. We create an ideal self. We remove bad habits, and we go over all of these types of points. So if this sounds like something you're interested in and you would love to work with me, then we can organize that. I have an inquiry form in my description, in the bio. You can fill that out and it will come through to me, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. But other than that, I hope you're having a fantastic day. I hope you can take something from this episode and apply it to your own pursuit of constant improvement. Thank you for listening.